So good morning. Welcome to our webinar, Think Outside the Mask, Sales and Business Planning for the New Normal, brought to you by the Florida SBDC at UCF. Thank you for joining us today. For those new to the Florida SBDC at UCF, we are a small business organization geared to help businesses grow and succeed. We are part of a statewide network of Florida SBDCs geared to support businesses from pre-venture all the way up to to SME second stage companies who are looking for more assistance. And we do this in a variety of ways. First, we provide no-cost consulting. We also provide market research and database to help you make well-informed business decisions. We offer webinars like these, and we also provide second stage services such as the COVID relief program that we just rolled out. And so if you're in business, you need assistance getting over the pandemic and the shutdown, feel free to contact us or visit our website at www.sbdc.orlando.com. And feel free to check us out. Feel free to check out all of the programs and services that we offer as well. Now, let's introduce you to our speaker, John Finnegan. He has over 30 years of business consulting experience, of his sales experience. So he's well versed in this topic of thinking outside the mask and business development and sales and so forth. As well, actually, before I turn it over, a couple of quick things. First, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat. I'll read it out to John as we go along. And also, after the seminar, we're going to email you a survey, and we greatly appreciate if you can fill that out. That gives us good feedback as far as how we do these in the future. So without further ado, I turn it over to John Finnegan.
All right, well, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. We're very pleased that you invest your time this morning to take a look at our presentation. So think outside the mask, sales and business planning for the new normal. First of all, I want to just say a few things about Florida SBDC at UCF. I have worked with the team as a volunteer consultant for probably 9 months or so on a couple of board of advisors. I have huge respect. I had huge respect for them then. And then I was asked to come on as a full-time business consultant with the team here at UCF in Orlando, Central Florida. And my level of respect for the team has grown tremendously. We provide, and the team here provides, critical guidance and support in some very important areas: finance, fund sourcing, financial management, strategic business development, kind of real important parts of your business like international business opportunities and government contracting. So there's a high level of expertise with the consultants here. They're very experienced. They're very articulate in terms of how they communicate their experience to you. They are outside the box thinkers. In other words, they can look at what your business is doing, what your struggles are, and they have the ability to look beyond the superficial. And I have huge respect. I think the most important part of the consulting team, though, is the dedication. I'm just real pleased. They have a high level of respect for the clients, a real desire to help, and a sense of urgency. Because when we're working with clients who have challenges, in normal times, much less now, there's a level of stress there, and they want help. If they come to us, they want help, they need help. So it's important to us to recognize that and to address it with a sense of urgency. And I'm hugely pleased with the folks that are on the consulting team here. And if you're a small business owner, if you know one, don't hesitate to reach out to the SBDC at UCF. We can help. All right. Okay, there we go. Oops. All right, so this discussion is the intent to look at, the business climate you're facing now and how do you get out of it? How are you going to get through it? And here's kind of the perspective that I would suggest you take You think about it, first of all, I'm not going to dwell on the actual environment. You see it on the news every day. You see the impact of it in our social lives, our family lives, and absolutely in our business lives as well. So I'm not going to dwell on that, but what I am going to talk about is how does it impact your business? And you think about it this way, I'm going to use, throughout the course of the discussion, I'm going to use a number of examples. And one of them is, say in your business in Central Florida here, you have 10 competitors. And you're struggling, and let me assure you that the 10 competitors are struggling as well. Of that group, of you and your 10 competitors, not everybody's going to make it. This time next year, instead of 11 people in your space, maybe there's 6 or maybe there's 7, and some simply aren't going to make it. And we want to make sure that if you're tuned in here, if you're paying attention to what we talk about, that you're one of the ones that survive. And frankly, and you know this as well as I do, that those who survive are very likely going to be in a position of strength. If you make it through this difficult time, and you're one of the survivors, your opportunities at the other end of this situation is going to be strong. And I know that you probably know people as well that made it through the 2008, 2009, et cetera, recession time. The ones who made it typically came out stronger because competition went away in many cases. And in this case, one of the phrases that I've heard in the past, economic Darwinism. So survival of the fittest in terms of business, that was brought to my attention by a wise man, Steve South, and I thought that was very appropriate in this situation. So survival of the fittest, we want to make sure that you and your business are survivors. Just a little overview on the discussion summary. We're going to talk about challenging times requiring aggressive solutions. We're going to look at defining some of your expectations as a business owner in terms of time frame. What are the financial expectations? We'll look at some roles, responsibilities, and commitments across your business. All hands on deck. Who's responsible for the sales? How is sales happening? We'll look at some very basics, some business growth basics that maybe in normal times are fairly simple. They're fairly easy to understand and they're fairly easy to discuss, but not so much now because of the changing environment. So we're going to look at some very basic concepts and fundamentals. We're going to look at sales management basics, and we're going to talk about, we're going to leave you with the opportunity to seek professional help. Think outside the mask. So you'll probably wonder at some point, how did we come up with the name Think Outside the Mask? And this is really the key to the first part of our discussion today. This is not normal times. It just isn't. You know it, and we all know it's not normal times. You can't approach your business and expect it to continue and survive and thrive by looking at it as with normal eyes. So you got to look outside the mask. And if you are a business owner, you're the business leader, you have to lead differently. If, kind of going the status quo was good enough for you and your business in the past, very likely status quo isn't going to help you these days. And again, economic Darwinism, if you want to be one of the survivors at the end of this thing, you want to be one of the folks that enjoy the recovery, you got to look outside the mask and you got to think about things a little differently. Oops, sorry. Okay, consider the counterintuitive. And this is really the key to this whole think outside the mask, counterintuitive. So you are right now in your business at a point of struggle. You're concerned about staffing and who do you keep and who do you furlough, and you're worried certainly about cash flow. And you're worried about your debt obligations, and you're worried about where your future business. So you're under a fairly substantial level of stress, and you want things as controlled as possible. Well, controlled as possible probably isn't a solution. So you got to look at maybe some things that in normal times you simply wouldn't look at. So you look at talking with a competitor, and we'll talk about that a little farther. That is clearly counterintuitive. So, discussing the circumstance with a competitor, not necessarily, comes to the front of your mind in normal times. M&A activity. Okay, well, you're struggling to, maintain your business now. M&A is completely irrational. Well, maybe there's an opportunity there, and maybe now is the time to do it. Expand the geographic footprint. Typically, you think of expansion as expensive. Add a private label business. So those are all kind of, thoughts that might be completely counterintuitive to you, but you need to give them consideration now in this time. So as you're looking forward to the future, this short-term future, this pandemic situation, you're trying to get through it, you got to set some expectations about, how are you looking at this time frame? And the starting point, hence the people lined up at the starting line there, the starting point is decide some things. What is the time frame you're looking at to develop a plan? And here's kind of the standard thought is now to the end of the year, right? That's kind of what people are thinking about. If I can just get through now to the end of the year, that should, if I can survive, if the business can survive, we'll take it from there. Well, I've seen both directions. I've worked with clients, and my team has worked with clients where end of the year isn't likely to be the end of this challenge. They're looking at more like 9 months into the future, and that's the plan time frame. So that's the plan period is 9 months, because that's really what they're looking at. Some might think it's even longer. Some might think it's a year out. So whatever that is, you have to define it. And some, frankly, will think that it's even shorter than to the end of the year. So I've had clients say, our cash flow is so much of a concern, I'm worried about this month. I'm worried about next month as well. So in that case, we define the time frame, or you define the time frame as something that meets your needs and your circumstance. And if it's a month or 2 months, because you have cash flow issues and you just need to survive before you even look further, or if it's 9 months out, or if it's between here and the end of the year. So figure that out, and that's part of your plan moving forward. Then you have to, at some point at the owner level, you have to define some expectations. So if you think about, your business, you need top line, you need to be able to protect your bottom line. So what is the sales budget for the next, 6 months or whatever that time frame you selected? What is the sales budget? And if you haven't done that in the past, if during normal times you've never invested in developing a sales budget because your sales have been fine. Historically, you've grown month over month, you've grown year over year, you've never had to look at a budget. Now's the time. You're going to have to look at a sales budget, because a sales budget, when you look at where that revenue is, that kind of determines what flexibility you have throughout the rest of your plan, right? And then the second thing is profitability. So what is a realistic expectation? And for me, early in the process, one of our clients said, I just want to break even. I want to get through, this 6 months or this 9 months. I just want to be break even. I don't want to be way in the hole. I don't have any expectation of huge profitability during this time. I recognize, and I'm being realistic. So set an expectation of what your profitability expectation is. And frankly, if you're realistic, if you're being realistic about the situation and your approach, break even isn't a bad thing. If you can get done with this thing and not have a bunch of new debt, you'll be in probably pretty decent shape. Financial and cash flow, obviously critical to get down into it. Cash flow these days is probably the single biggest variable, the single biggest aspect of your small business that needs to be addressed. And in staffing, I've heard so many clients talk about staffing in terms of these are people that are critical to my business. These are people that have been with me for a long time. They're important to our future. I can't afford them. We don't have enough business to support all of these people. What am I going to do? So obviously that's a critical concern. I don't know if there's any questions, happy to stop here, but otherwise I'll keep going. All hands on deck. This is just a quick slide, and it's just what it says. All hands on deck. So right now in this environment, in a small business setting, everybody needs to be participating. And here's kind of an example of what I mean by that. I have a client that sells product to businesses, and they install the product, and he has a couple of installers. Well, those installers, because business is down, and he wanted to keep all of the installers in place, they're working half days. So the question is, can they come back to the office? Is there anything they can do to help support the rest of the business? And, I'm a sales management, business development person. One of the things that I would ask a business owner, if you have people that are utilized at this point, can they help in the sales efforts? Can they start making calls on prospects or even calls on current accounts, and just to have that communication with them? Are you okay? Is there anything we can do to help? That kind of thing. So all hands on deck. If they have the ability to, if they have a sales personality, if they are outgoing, if they're good with people, put them on the phone, have them call people, have them call current customers, have them call prospective customers, but certainly utilize them. Okay, roles, responsibilities, and commitment. So this is really important from an owner's perspective. And I'm going to talk about two approaches to sales and business growth and finding new revenue. Two different approaches from a small business perspective. One is the owner does the sales on their own. They are responsible for the sales. And the second is there's probably a small sales force, maybe one professional salesperson, maybe just a couple. But there's two different approaches, and really you have to have the same mindset as an owner with both. And the first is your commitment to the sales part of the process. So I'm going to start talking just briefly about the business owners, that the owner is responsible for the sales. So there's no sales professionals. The owner has historically brought in sales, or it's come in through referrals, or it's come in through an online presence. And now the circumstance has changed. So as an owner, if you're going to be running your business or running part of that business and have sales responsibility, you have to make a commitment on a weekly basis, a time commitment that you're going to invest in that. Because think about it as an owner. As soon as something, if you're focused on, you're thinking about sales or business growth, or trying to find where the next order is coming from, and then something happens in your business and you get pulled away, easily distracted. I've got to take care of this. I'm the owner. This is my responsibility. And then you forget to come back to the sales part of the business, or finding new revenue, finding new business for the future. So what I'm going to recommend, if you are an owner, a business owner, and you're doing your own business development, you're doing your own sales, you have to commit to a time, make a time commitment on a weekly basis. And even if that time commitment is 10 hours a week, commit to it and stay to it. Otherwise, as soon as you start drifting away to other responsibilities, the sales stops, the business development stops. Looking for new orders stops, and you can't have that. So first of all, give yourself a commitment on the time, whether it's 10 hours, 20 hours in a week. And then second thing is do a weekly schedule commitment. So not only is it 10 hours a week, you identify specific times during that week where you're going to invest your time on sales. So think about this. Tuesday morning, I'm going to spend the whole morning in sales. Wednesday afternoon and then Friday morning, those are where I'm going to commit to nothing but sales, nothing but business development, nothing but reach out to potential customers and that kind of thing. That gives you the ability to hold yourself accountable. It's more visual to you. If you committed to a Tuesday morning and a Wednesday afternoon, and here it is Tuesday morning and you're making deliveries, or Tuesday morning and you're helping process orders and you're not doing sales, you know that the sales is suffering. And then on the sales team, so if you have, a salesperson, a professional salesperson is doing that, one of the concerns and we're going to talk about just a little bit later, is don't pull them away. If they are responsible for generating new revenue for you, new orders moving forward, they are responsible essentially for getting that top line going. Be reluctant to pull them away from those responsibilities. Sales is a challenge in the best of times, in normal times. Sales is very much more a challenge during this period of time. You see employees 1099. There are, and I know this, I have friends out there who are professional salespeople who are essentially furloughed. They would be willing to work for a commission only for a small company for a finite period of time. Maybe it's between now and the end of the year. I have sales professionals experienced who know how the sales process work. You could plug them in, give them the basics of your industry, set up something where, you have a commission structure. So if they eat what they kill. If they sell something, they make some money. If they don't sell something, they don't make any money. It's not an expense to you. That's a consideration. So give that a little bit of a thought. Jairo, any questions or anything? I have a tendency to speak very quickly, so.
So far, no questions.
Okay, so I either I've done a really good job of explaining, or it's completely confusing, right? Jairo. All right, so some very basics in business and sales. So look at your service territory or your sales territory. What territory are you covering now? And, maybe now is the time. Again, you're under stress. This is a challenging time. Well, maybe now is the time for some expansion. Maybe you open up opportunities for yourself and say, this is your current territory. It's Greater Orlando. Just to put it in perspective, I put the population there. So this is kind of your current territory or your historic territory. Greater Orlando, population 1.9 million. If you look at something that could be an incremental expansion, it's not huge. It's maybe adding on Daytona on the north, maybe adding on Melbourne, maybe adding on Lakeland to the south. That adds another, again, just to put it in perspective, the population, 265,000. Maybe now is the time to do that. At least maybe now is the time to think about that. And if you do now, and you maintain that moving forward, when we get back to quasi-normal, maybe that allows your business to grow by incrementally. And then the bigger question would be, can you add a key market? Is now the time? And we are going to talk about that just a little bit later when we talk about competition. But, say there's somebody in Tampa. You're working here in Orlando, and there's somebody in Tampa doing the same thing you're doing, and they are really struggling, and they are running out of steam. And you reach out to them, and you maybe bring them into your business. Now you have a presence in Tampa. You add another, again, for perspective, population 3.1 million. And again, you think about normal times, you might not have thought about this. Even now it's scary. Even now it's a challenge. Jairo, do you have a question for us?
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
First question, for outside sales team, how would we search for one of them?
So if you're looking to hire somebody, so there's a couple of different venues that I think are that everybody's looking at these days. I can tell you from the people I know, they look at LinkedIn. So if you have a LinkedIn presence, do this. You put a note on LinkedIn that you are looking for salespeople. You make it very clear it's commission only, and you post that. And what you should do just to get maximum exposure is tell your friends to share it. So, it goes out, you send it out, so all of your contacts see it. You have your friends share it, and it goes out from there. Indeed, and obviously there's a number of sites, even professional networking. If you know some of your friends, if you're looking to consider hiring somebody for commission only, tell your friends in business. Everybody knows somebody probably now that's looking for an opportunity.
I have another question. I guess similar in vein. Do you guys have a database of salespeople that we could hire as 1099 if we require it?
The SBDC does not. We really don't have a list, or we don't do that. But my information is it was at the front. It'll be at the back. If you want to reach out to me, even informally, I can give you a little bit of a more detailed direction. I do know a couple of people. It would have to be the right opportunity. These are pretty high-end people. So, anything else, Iro?
No, that's it so far.
Okay, very good. Okay, evaluate your product line. If your existing product line has served you well for a number of years, has served you well over the history of your business, maybe now is time to expand, and we'll talk about why. So maybe there's an opportunity to add adjacent product lines or complementary product lines, other products that fit well with you, that are maybe typically purchased together. And I put in a kind of a real basic example here. If you sell commercial doors to general contractors, maybe it's time to add a window line. Is that easy? No, not necessarily. But why would you do that? Or you might want to add service or installation products. So maybe now you're selling the product. They are responsible for the service. Your customer, your client, your accounts are responsible for installation. Maybe you add that now. So maybe you essentially broaden your value to your customer. And that's exactly what it's all about. Why do that? So first of all, if you're working with a particular account and you're able to sell two products, just as an example, two products instead of one, it broadens your revenue opportunity with each customer. That seems self-evident, correct? But that's the truth. Plus, it's cost effective. So if you're using one sales force or one route to market, and you have one customer service team inside, and they are handling two types of products instead of one to the same accounts, it makes them more effective. So you're adding another product line, or you're adding another revenue opportunity, but you're essentially processing it through the same organization. You have the same sales on the front end, same customer service, maybe the same service team on the back end. Is it easy? By no means it's easy. Is it, should you have thought about it before? No, not necessarily. If the previous model worked, perfect. Previous model very likely isn't going to work anymore. And maybe this is one aspect of how you can change your position moving forward. And then here's kind of this discussion, this is the most important part of it, is it adds value to your customer base. So think about it from your customer base. If they have to buy your product and if they have to figure out how to install it themselves, they're pulling somebody off of another responsibility to do the install. There's value to them for you doing the installation, or for you providing service because you understand the product. Or if you're a general contractor and you're buying doors, isn't it easier to work with fewer vendors, fewer subcontractors, suppliers, and buy doors and buy windows? And again, that's just a general example for you to give, to put it in perspective. So again, just in summary before we move off, evaluate your product line is the ability to move horizontally in your product line to add complementary products. Promotions. Okay, this is, again, let me start with why. If you can look at promotions, and I mean promotions in the broadest sense, you know, I got a picture of a coupon there. That's not exactly what I have in mind. I'm talking about promotions in the broader sense. And again, the why is to add value to your customer, especially if you're in a competitive market with competitive products and you have strong competition. You find a way to get your current customers' attention, to keep their attention, to keep their loyalty. And if you're looking to expand the business, you have to get somebody else's attention. So promotions in terms of, you know, discounts. So, you know, the coupon thing is part of it, but also promotions in terms of packages, maybe discounted packages, maybe different terms, maybe different delivery options, maybe even free delivery or discounted delivery. So anything that gives value to your current customers and your future customers, anything that gets their attention. And right now, it's the little things that are important. So if they can get a deal from you, it makes you more important. It makes you more a part of their future, their current and their future. Your competition. So sales and business and sales basics, your competition. What's up with them? What's up with your competition? You should always know what your competitors are doing. I've worked with clients historically that understand in the general sense who their competitors are. They don't necessarily know strengths or weaknesses or a SWOT analysis or anything like that, but they have a general sense of who their competition is. Here's why this is important now is, again, I'm going to use the example of, say, in your marketplace, in your business, in your industry, there are 10 total competitors. That includes you. So there's 10 of you in this marketplace. All of them are struggling. Some of them are not going to make it. And you think about it, some may be in worse or much worse positions than you. And the sooner you recognize that, the better it is. Have they closed? Have they scaled back? Again, I've worked with clients that they found out, you know, in good time frame, but they found out that one of their key competitors was working a 3-day week. So that impacted their delivery schedule. It impacted their capacity. So they've scaled back. I've had clients that told me that they've secured key accounts because one of their major competitors couldn't service the account anymore. Or if your competitor has lost key people, or maybe their credit's now to the point where they can't purchase raw material, if that's the case, and they are struggling to go. Okay, so you see the text at the bottom. Is it time to reach out to competitive owners? This is the counterintuitive thought process. And think about it this way. If you have a competitor that was strong in the past and now is struggling, reach out to them. And here's kind of the perspective to use is you reach out from a cooperative, from a sympathetic standpoint. I am the owner of ABC Company. You know, we are competitors, but we're in this together. You know, we're struggling. You guys are struggling. You know, how's it going for you? Reach out from a compassionate, complimentary, a cooperative approach as opposed to, you know, trying to rub it in or something. And what if they are a month from their cash flow drying up and they have had historically 10 accounts that you've been trying to get, and maybe the owner goes, you know what, I can't do this anymore. This thing is closing down. Can we work together? And maybe that owner comes over to you and acts as kind of a quasi salesperson. That owner comes across and brings a couple of key accounts that you've been trying to get. So it adds to your top line. You pay that person on a commission basis, so it's not necessarily coming out of your budget. But who knows? reach out. And of the clients that have told me they've done that, nobody said that it wasn't well received, that there was any ill will. This is about a business environment that that's rare, that many of us or most of us haven't gone through. Things happen. Reach out to your competition and find out what's going on. And you think about it, the flip side. If your cash flow is going to run out at the end of August, and there is no getting around that, and you have 4 or 5 accounts you've worked with, you're still servicing those 4 or 5 accounts, but after August you've run out of money and you can't keep the business going, and somebody calls you, one of your competitors calls you and says, "How are you doing? Is there anything I can do to help?" And you go, "Let's partner." Hey, Jairo, any questions? Because that's kind of you think about counterintuitive. That certainly is a counterintuitive approach to take.
No questions so far. No new questions.
Okay, Jairo, I'm going to ask. You're going to have to make up some questions here. So at the end of the next slide, you make up some questions.
All right.
I'm teasing you. Okay. Build cooperative partnerships. This is pretty self-aware. This is something that you probably have given thought to. Strategic partners, strength in numbers. So there's 2 directions you would go. You would go up and you'd go down. So you go up to your suppliers, and maybe they've done that to you. But say if you have a couple of key suppliers and you are important to them in this particular marketplace, reach out to them. And is there anything we can do to protect our mutual business? Is there cooperative advertising or cooperative promotions we can talk about? Can we look at maybe an improved pricing structure that is good for the supplier, it's good for you, and it's good for your accounts and prospects? Is there the ability to share discounts? And even back to the promotion idea we talked about before, can we talk about terms, or can we talk about anything? Even for suppliers to you, can we talk about delivery or that kind of thing? And then the same approach can be taken with key clients. If you are in a competitive marketplace, the more important you are to your key clients, the better your business is. So maybe you talk to them about, what is the win-win solution here? Volume discount. So, maybe you can't change the pricing on, kind of the volumes they've purchased in the past. But maybe this is the opportunity. If you go to another level of volume in terms of what you purchase from us, we'll be able to talk about different terms or different pricing or payment terms or other kinds of promotions. But anytime you start those discussions and you get into those relationships with either up or down, either with your suppliers or with your key clients, you're strengthening that relationship, because now you're in it together. Now you have a mutual vested interest to staying in business. And the economic Darwinism, if you are still alive at the end of this thing, chances are you're going to be stronger, your key clients are going to be stronger, your suppliers are going to be stronger.
I have a question.
Did you make it up?
I did not. So a question is, can SBDC help me with a plan for creating that strategic partnership with a former rival company?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, so what would happen is if you reach out to us and ask our help in something like that, what happens is we come in and we ask questions, and we'll say, tell us about that relationship. Tell us about, their strengths, weaknesses, your strengths, weaknesses. How did you compete in the marketplace? What were your advantages? What were their advantages? And then what kind of the next step would be, what do you want this thing to look like when it's done? Do you want a merged business? Do you want to be able to try to bring them into your business? What is your kind of, golden end to this thing? And then we'll help you figure out a strategic approach to it. So absolutely. Happy to help.
Okay, and a couple of comments from Sharon Smith, our colleague here at SBDC. Contacting competitors works best with smaller companies than yourselves. not big national chains.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yep, I don't dispute that. Okay, so we're going to get off of the thinking outside the mask a little bit here and go into some basics about sales management. And I call it sales management, but really it is, you know, driving revenue. It's top line focus. It's business development. It's protecting, you know, your source of income for the future. That's, and I just simplified it to sales management. So here are some of the basics. Sales management and accountability, CRM. Those of you who've worked with me know that I'm a CRM fanatic. It gives you the ability to control your business, to understand what's going on in your business at the front end from sales activities. It allows you to help manage the pipeline. And I'll tell you, and this is not an exaggeration. If you're not using a CRM now, I don't care how small your business is, even if it's a spreadsheet that you made custom manually, if you're not using some sort of management of the customer relationship, you're not 5 years behind, you're 2 decades behind. You're way behind. So, you know, that's got to be the start. And if you're in a situation where you don't have a CRM, you know, call us. And here is the perspective. If you're reluctant to invest the money, Google free CRMs and see how many responses you get. There are free CRMs out there. Typically, they are limited to a small number of licenses, maybe 2 licenses, 2 users, 3 users, 5 users. It won't get over 5 users, but free, and typically they are fairly functional. So, you know, take a look. If you're not using a CRM, time to do that. Sales schedule efficiency. This is who's ever doing the sales. So typically this relates to outside salespeople. So if you have somebody who's responsible for generating your sales, the sales schedule efficiency is simple. It's how much of their weekly schedule are they spending on sales-related activities. And here's what that means. So sales-related activities are they calling? Are they sending emails? Are they following up? Even are they doing proposals? Those are all sales-related activities. Are they, you know, in a face-to-face meeting, which, you know, may not be happening, or on a Zoom call? Or are they doing non-sales related activities? So things like, you know, scheduling deliveries. That's typically not sales related. That's more operations or customer service. Or are they, you know, doing deliveries, or are they, you know, collecting for you, which may be important, but you got to recognize that as you pull your salespeople away from the sales function, they're no longer looking for new business for you. They're helping you with another function. That's okay. And here's what I would tell you is you have to understand where you are and what the expectation. And if your salesperson is 50% SSE, that means 50%, and 50% in everything else, and that's okay with you, and that's helping you, you know, manage your business and move it forward, and you understand that, fine, no problem. And there always is non-sales related responsibility that salespeople have that pull them away. There always is. Even in the best of times with the best of companies, if a salesperson gets to 75 or 80% sales schedule efficiency, that means they're spending 75 to 80% of their time on sales-related activities. That's typically as good as it gets, because there are always some other customer service, you know, project-related type responsibilities that they're doing. So just be aware of, you know, the SSE for your salespeople, because it's important always. It's critical now.
Sorry, got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, sales and marketing question. Customers can choose why to purchase services, purchase services and goods from. What are the definitions and considerations of not poaching competitors' clients?
Not poaching competitors, what was that, Iro?
Competitors' clients. What are the definitions and considerations of not poaching competitors' clients?
That's an interesting question. I have never, in my 30 plus years of working with sales, have I ever been concerned about the competitors. I have never been, and poaching competitors' clients isn't in my vocabulary. There may be industries where that's maybe a requirement of some sort, where there has to be a recognition of those types of relationships, but my suspicion is that's fairly rare. So my instinct is always on the opposite side. Now, and here's, a couple of years ago, I developed a sales approach, and it was an annual sales approach for a region of a multi-billion-dollar national scope service corporation. And our approach was keep ours, take theirs. And so it was all about, on the first side, retention. So what do we have to do to retain our current customer base? And we had, as an organization, we had poor, I'll say poor for lack of a better word, poor customer retention. We retain probably something like 80% of our customer base in a year. That means we lost 20%. So, you know, every year we had to kind of make up that 20% that we lost before we even started year-over-year growth. So we had to pay attention to retaining our customer base. So keep ours and then take theirs. So the second half, and the bigger part of it was, how do we take our customers' business? So I hope that answers your question. If there needs to be more of a discussion, don't hesitate to reach out to me after the presentation.
One more question.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between a business development person and a salesperson? And does their tasks overlap?
Yeah, it all depends. I would say for a small business, they're very tightly wound. They're essentially one and the same. And it all depends on your approach. So I look at a couple of different functions. You know, so there's a sales function, and there's kind of the marketing, online presence, and I call them routes to market, just to make it simple. A route to market, where does your business come from? So if you're getting business from an online presence, they're going to your website, they're doing a Google search and it's coming to you, or you have, you're on any one of the venues now that allows for sales online. So that's typically one route to market, and the other route to market is an outside sales, kind of a proactive approach and program. And you can look at, I call it business development, because I think sales has a bad connotation when you're trying to talk to a prospect. I'm a sales rep. I'm a sales manager. I think that's superficial. I think it's one-dimensional. I use the phrase or the title business development manager, business development representative, or that kind of thing, because I think it's broader. I think it's got a better connotation. So, it depends on how you define it, and depends on who's doing the functions. But frankly, you have to have somebody doing that online presence. And typically you have to have somebody that's responsible for an outbound, proactive sales kind of campaign or approach. Anything else, Hyro?
Just another comment. Be very careful at talking about pricing with customers and competitors. Talk about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how often you talk with pricing to competitors. Yeah, I don't dispute that, but here's what I would tell you is, don't be afraid of price typically. If you're priced at the high end of the market, in your particular market, in your particular industry, and you can justify it, there is a reason for you to talk about it. So I've never been concerned about talking about price, because I think that you have to address it some way or another. I actually would think that I would have a harder time explaining why I'm 20% low than 20% high in the general sense. So, Evaluate your target market. So who do you sell to? And here's kind of the typical example. We have a client, and there are a couple of them that sell to the resorts and sell to the high-end hotels and that kind of thing. And it's a struggle now. Obviously, it's a struggle. So the question is there anybody else you can sell to? Any other business types you can sell to? And it's a wide open opportunity. Who else uses your product? Who else uses your service? And if you haven't considered, so universities, is there anything, anything that you have that you can sell to a university or other businesses or other business types? That's a broad question. It's something you can consider. In the past, you may never have considered moving outside of your current target verticals. You've been selling them to them forever. Their business. It's been good to you. You have relationships, and now it's shrunk down, and you have to figure out something else. So one of the options is look at selling to other types of businesses. Expand your prospect base. So that's where the SBDC can come in, and this ties into the CRM. So if you have identified 1,000 prospects, for example, and it's in the territory that is essentially Central Florida, and in reality there's 1,800 out there. Let's find those other 800. So let us run a data run for you. We'll send it back to you. You give us what is the business type that you want? What is the business size? What is the geographic location? We can run a D&B or a sales genie type of a run. We can send it to you. You can load it, and it broadens your prospect base within the same vertical. And high value targets, and this is always not always, but it's easily taken for granted. So in your industry, in your business, there are typically there are a handful of high value targets. Those are prospects out there that could change your business. If you secured one, it would have a dramatic impact on your top line, probably your bottom line as well. It's typically 5 to 10. It's a handful. And I would caution you not to make it much more than that because it takes away, kind of the uniqueness of the high value target. And I've heard for decades, I've heard people say, we'd love to get them. We tried, we can't, we've given up. Essentially, that's what the response is. That's because maybe you tried a couple of times with a couple of different people and it didn't work. And then you've given it up. Well, first of all, some of those high value targets are struggling right now, and maybe they are looking for other ways of doing business. And maybe one of those is restructuring who they do business with, and their vendors and their suppliers, and maybe now is the opportunity to do that. The key point here with the high value targets program, 2 things. First, identify them. Put them on a piece of paper as a starting point. Identify them, and then have a specific program designed for those high value targets that's going to be over a period of time that that's different than your regular prospect, because they are different than your regular prospect. So approach them differently. And again, the people from the SBDC, if you get to that point and you need help with creating a high value target approach or program, we can help you.
Well, I have a question. I actually missed this earlier. Reconfiguring our digital marketing mix to emphasize YouTube videos. Does the SBDC provide professional video capabilities beyond my cell phone and computer?
We don't do the video. We are not a provider. We can give you direction in terms of what you should be looking for, and give you general guidance as to what works and what doesn't work. But beyond that, and sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that general guidance and general direction is enough to give you a path forward, at least for a period of time.
Yeah, I like to add that we can also refer, if you're needing some like professional assistance and you're not quite confident, in your capabilities, we can definitely refer you to a few other like production companies that are local in town and that are vetted. So we can do that as well.
Yeah, because I'm relatively new to the SBDC here. I was just a little bit cautious about how I communicated that. So thank you, Hiro. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to speed this up just a little bit because we're starting to run out of time. So sales management basics, understand the sales funnel. The sales funnel is a fact. It's an actuality. It's not a theory in somebody's head, and I'm a firm believer in it based on 30 plus years of experience. But the activity that at the top, so all of those, the reach outs, the contacts, the calls, the emails, they lead to, meetings. And these days, maybe they're Zoom meetings. So maybe 100 calls lead to 30 meetings, lead to 10 proposals, lead to 5 sales. Your close rates or your conversion rates might be different, but let me assure you that in your business, in your industry, there is a direct relationship between the activity at the front end of the process and the results at the bottom end of the process. The more you understand that, the more you can control your sales funnel and understand and hold accountable activities at the top, the better results you're going to get at the bottom. Sales process, this is, it's a simple approach. It looks a little bit more involved. And here's what I would tell you is sales don't happen with the first contact. You don't call a prospect and say, I am selling a window washing service, and they go, great, send me a proposal, let's get going. It doesn't work that way. And think about your own purchasing behavior. If you've been generally thinking about buying something, and the first time you see something online, or you see something that comes up you may not give it a whole lot of attention. Or you have another product, the same type, and you're comfortable with that, you're not going to consider that. The first time you see it, you pass it off. The second time you see it, maybe it's starting to sink in. There starts to be some brand awareness. The third time, the fourth time, and it's the old, most sales calls are made, most sales are made after the 8th contact. I have a tendency to believe it's closer to 8 than it is to 1. So to develop a sales process, I don't care what the industry is. I don't care who's doing the sales. You got to look at multiple touches to your prospects and typically multiple venues. So you just can't keep making phone calls. So maybe it's an email.Maybe it's a constant contact type mass email. Maybe it's, they see you online. You see your online presence. And you go from, no awareness to interest to, beyond. And that's got to be part of any sales plan moving forward. You got to recognize that and go so far as to document that. All right, seek professional help. If you're a small business owner, if you have questions about taxes, you go to a tax professional. If you have questions about your online presence, your online route to market, a digital marketing program, you go typically to a digital marketing professional. We are like that. If you are struggling with your business, if you need help, if you need somebody to talk to in terms of how do you get from today to the end of the year, or to the end of the month, or to the end of the 9 months, how do you do that? And you want somebody to talk to us. What should you do now? We're just closing up here. Again, Florida's SBDC at UCF, confidential expert consulting at no cost, direction in terms of things like access to capital, financial management, very important things like international trade, government contracting, that kind of thing. So, question. So that was it. Let me tell you the expectation. I think the expectation is if you invested an hour of your time and you got 2 or 3 ideas where you went, I like that. I'm going to try that. If you got 2 or 3 ideas from your investment of an hour here, I would suspect that it was a good investment of your time. So hopefully we were able to give you a couple of things to think about.
I have one question. What do you think about drop shipping, whereby other people can sell the product for you without buying it, but the delivery is handled by the product owner? Could SBDC set up a drop shipping database of companies who are willing to use this business model? As I'm sure there are individuals not only in the US, but overseas out there who would love to sell quality products.
Yeah, so I think that between the client and SBDC, it would be, first of all, we can run a business database on, based on what I know, on any business type. I used to call them SIC codes or something else now. But we can run that based on, what is that specific SIC code. So it's up to us and the client to identify what are those types of business that we can run through the database and then put them into a prospect list, a CRM, and pursue that. So, we certainly can help with that.
I think that's all the questions, I believe.
Well, again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you spending a little time with us. Like what we mentioned in the beginning, if your business is struggling, everybody's business in your market is probably struggling. Some are going to survive and some aren't. You need to be one of the survivors, because when this clears, when we get back to quasi-normal, you want to be one of those businesses that survive, and you have the ability now to ramp up. And if it means that you've thought outside the mask now, and you've tried different things that you wouldn't try in normal times, and it works, and it keeps you healthy, and it gets you to the next level, and now you have a broader base to work with, maybe it's for the best. Give us a call. Reach out to the Florida's SBDC at UCF, or give me a call or email me. Happy to help. Thank you, everybody. Jairo, thanks for your help.
Thank you. Just a quick reminder, you'll receive an SBDC survey regarding this webinar. We would greatly appreciate if you can fill that out and let us know your feedback. We rely on your feedback to build out more webinars and seminars in the future. So again, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions regarding our program and services, visit our website at www.sbdcorlando.com. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.